Crap. I am doing this because I am afraid to do this. And so anything I'm afraid to do means that I have to do it. So, ever since I left my marriage 3 years ago, I've been really feeling like I want to live my purpose. I feel like I went through everything I went through for a reason. And the reason is to share how I lost myself in the marriage. And hi, Susie, how I lost myself in the marriage and how the universe intervened when I did not have the strength or the awareness to make decisions for myself about whether to stay or go. And ever since then, I've been like, I need to get my message out there. I need to get my message out there to other women who are in unhealthy relationships and think that they can't start over. Because I was 55 when I left the marriage, and I was still in love with my husband. So all this time I've been trying to figure out what my message is, right? And oh God, I can't believe I'm going to be honest about this. I woke up this morning and the last 2 mornings, and I just thought, I wish I was still asleep. I woke up and I thought, I don't want to wake up. And that's not like me. I'm full of joy and enthusiasm and just faith and passion, and I just love life. So I started thinking about why would I feel this way. And what came to me was a truth that I wasn't being completely honest about what I want to share. And that's why I've been struggling with trying to figure out my message for this long, because I shouldn't have to try to figure out my message. My message is what I feel in my heart. And by trying to find it, I am distracting myself and avoiding what my true message is. And so I'm about to talk about codependence and the effects of family alcoholism, because the reason I've been dancing around this issue in all my blogs is because there's a lot of shame around alcoholism in the family, and there's a lot of abuse that is involved in it. There's emotional abuse, psychological abuse, verbal abuse. I'm sure there's physical abuse too, which I guess as a child I did experience. But what we tend to do as children of alcoholics is we unknowingly search for the same type of personality and relationship so that we can continue the quest to resolve the relationship we had with the alcoholic person in our life before, with the alcoholic parent. And so hi Kirk. And so what I ended up doing unknowingly was marrying into the same relationship. And so as I'm doing these blogs about what it's been like to leave my marriage and start over again in my 50s, I've been avoiding talking about alcoholism because there's all that shame around it. And part of the shame I'm really, part of the shame I'm really realizing is the shame around myself. Like after you're in an alcoholic relationship for a while, you start asking yourself, like there's this little voice that goes, wait a minute, what happened? How did this happen? How are you in this situation? And you start asking yourself, how could you ever have allowed yourself to be treated this way? And because of all the abuse that's in it, there's all that shame. So, and the other thing is, when you're in love with someone or the daughter of someone who has a drinking problem, you just get accustomed to it. You get accustomed to the behavior. You get accustomed to being mistreated, and you start allowing things that no one else would allow. You start accepting unacceptable behavior, and that just becomes normal to you. So for the longest time, I didn't even realize that I was giving my power over and giving myself over to the people who needed help in my life. And I was just wanting to save them and people please them. And I learned early on in my childhood that acquiescing and avoiding conflict was the safest thing to do. And that's how I got people in my life to stay around, was to just not speak. So it was funny because I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm afraid to say it, so I have to say it. My mother was telling me this story about when I was a little girl, and I barely remember this moment. But I have had a stuttering problem my entire life. I started stuttering when I was a child, and that is a result of me not feeling like I am able to speak. So my mom tells me the story of when I was a little girl, and I barely remember this, but she said that my dad had been drinking, and, as a little girl, I just wanted to play with him, or I just wanted to interact with him. So I approached him, and he got angry. And he started walking out the door, vowing never to return. And she said I was grabbing onto the back of him, like begging him not to leave. And I really believe that that is where my stuttering started. She said that's where my stuttering started. And I believe that's when I learned that being myself, if I be myself, then the people I love leave me. So this whole life journey has been about how to recognize myself in these relationships, but not hold back about what I really need to talk about. I was listening to a Matt Kahn book on audiobook, and he lists some of the things that you've always wanted to hear from a loved one in your life that you should be telling yourself. And one of them was, the one I chose to repeat to myself was, I want to know how you feel. Please don't hold back. I dream of someone in my life saying, I want to know how you feel. Please don't hold back. Because it's my experience that if I say how I feel, it angers someone and they leave. But these are people in my life that have had problems themselves. And now that I am in recovery, and now that I am on the spiritual path that I'm on, I realize that, I'm not a victim. I chose this path to work out what I am here in this lifetime to work out, and so did my father, and so did my ex-husband. And they are on the point in their path that they're on, and we chose each other for a purpose. And I'm at the point right now where I'm just so grateful for that, but part of me is still holding back from talking about it because I'm trying to protect the people. I'm trying to protect them. And I'm just being able to step into my truth where it's not my job to protect them. And it's super hard to worry that you're going to hurt someone or out them, or because it's not my place to assign a label to someone else, like whether they're an alcoholic or not. All I can say for myself is that I grew up, and in my marriage, I was in situations that, see the stutter's coming up because I'm afraid to speak. I was in situations that silenced me, and it was very familiar. So I don't want there to be any shame anymore. There's no shame in telling the truth. And I don't want to keep secrets anymore. I don't want to keep anyone else's secrets anymore. And if I want to help other people leave, or not even leave, if it calls them to, yes. But if I want to help other people find their voice in unhealthy relationships, then I have to admit and be able to talk about what unhealthy relationships really look like. And how much love and forgiveness there is in it when you accept, when you're able to tell the truth and sit with it and accept things. And one of the other things that I want to say and admit is that, I have looked at a lot of things about myself over the last 3 years since I left my marriage. And a lot of them, it's hard to admit to myself. But I've been able to look at the ways in which I have been doing destructive and self-sabotaging things to myself too, as a way not to look or not to feel what I need to feel. And that's what's coming up for me recently, is getting a handle on my own behavior as a result of the effects of family alcoholism. But I woke up this morning, like I said in the beginning of the video, I woke up this morning wishing that I was still asleep. And when I started thinking about it, I started realizing that I have this emptiness inside of me. I feel this emptiness, and I am not fulfilling my purpose, but I didn't know why. And so I meditated on that, and this is what came up: the shame and the guilt and the fear around talking about alcoholism in the family and in a marriage. And yeah, and for alcohol myself, it's been an interesting relationship also, because even though I am not a problem drinker, I have the tendency to be, because it can be genetic, but also there is this thing in my life where it's just so common for alcohol to be a problem. It's just natural for alcohol to be a problem in my life somehow. And now that I am not living with family alcoholism, in a way, part of me feels like something's missing. Isn't that crazy? Part of me feels like something is missing because I am so accustomed to there being chaos and problems and crises, and there's a crisis to solve, and there's someone to help. And so it takes a lot of courage and patience to sit with myself in that void of not having these things to deal with, and not creating them for myself in my loneliness and in my solitude. So, whew, wow, that came out. Getting to know myself is my purpose now, and to share this and not be afraid, because I really want to help other people and myself step into their truth and not be afraid to speak their voice. What are you saying, Joe? I get that. It's like we're addicted to the crazy. Yes. We're addicted to what feels normal. And like, if there aren't any problems to solve, I find myself kind of creating problems. So I just really want to share how connecting with myself has been the most important thing, and having the courage to connect to myself and not be afraid to see what I'm going to find too. But yeah, I'm going to start talking about, I've been avoiding talking about abuse or even saying the word abuse. And I'm just not going to be afraid to say it anymore, because it's the truth. And in order for me to feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose here and fulfilling my destiny is to use what happened in my life for good. That is my destiny. And my destiny is to speak up and find my voice, no matter how scary it is. So thank you for listening. So I started blogging on I have a website called A Heart-Based Life, or you can even find it on lornasmith.net. lornasmith.net. Yeah, and I've been blogging for the last year and a half or 2 years about what it's been like to leave my 32-year marriage and start over again, but I haven't been talking about this truth. So now I'm tiptoeing into it. I guess I'm not really tiptoeing. I figure, since I'm afraid of it, I love you, Joe. I figure since I am afraid to say it, I better get on Facebook Live and say it, because I can't take it back once it's there. And, I went to a writer's workshop, a Hay House writer's workshop a couple of weekends ago. And one of the authors, my favorite authors, Nancy Levin, she and I have very similar stories. And when I was discussing with her, what is my message? What should I write about? Should I write about leaving my marriage? Should I write about starting over again in my 50s? Should I write about following my intuition and trusting life, letting life unfold, sitting in fear, embracing fears, trusting the unknown? What should I write about? And she said, write about the thing that scares you to write about. What is it that you absolutely cannot write about? That's what you need to write about. So I'm saying it first so that I can't take it back. And thanks for listening. Whew. Bye, Joe. Bye, Kirk. Bye, Susie. Thank you. Talk to you guys later.